Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast. So before we begin, I just want to ask you if you guys could please click the subscribe button, also like this video, leave a comment. All the engagement that you guys can give us will definitely help push this out to more people that could basically, gain some insights and value off of our interviews. So with that being said, today we're interviewing Trisha. Did I say
Hello,
that correct?
everyone.
Hey. And Trisha is currently based out of the New Jersey area. So let us know what inspired your real estate journey.
Um, I mean, familiar wealth, I guess. Like I always thought, I've always kind of invested in stocks. Wasn't really in tune with that as much as I wanted to be, and I was just looking for a way to grow my income, right, and grow my wealth. And so, my parents own real estate, and I saw how well it went for them. So I was like, okay, this is something that maybe I can get into. I had the funds kind of sitting around, and just needed something to invest in with kind of like real time growth. I'm someone that I need small, like short goals, and so the stock market seems such like a long way to grow for me to like grow my income. And so I'm like, real estate is something that's like tangible right now. And so when I saw opportunity, I kind of just jumped in and found a property. It was kind of happenstance. Honestly, at that very moment, I wasn't looking. Prior to that, I was. So I purchased my first property in 2021, but I would say maybe 2018, I was seriously looking up until like right before COVID. And I just didn't really find something that I thought was like the best fit for me. And so, yeah, I found something in 2021 in Jersey. My brother actually introduced me to a broker, and I guess I'll go back into that later on, who introduced me to someone who had just recently flipped a home and needed a buyer. And so I went to see the property, kind of fit what I was looking for, and I kind of moved forward with that. I did the whole, you know, when you do the oh my gosh, what's the word for it? When you what's the word? Inspect the property. I don't know why I just got like had a blonde moment, but you inspect the property, so I make sure everything was pretty much okay with it and kind of move forward from there. So I did that prior to like really moving forward because I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting a lemon or anything like that. And yeah, that's kind of how I started. I felt like I just veered off into something totally different, but yeah, sorry.
No,
Oh
you
no,
did.
that was good. That was real good.
But yeah, that
Yeah,
was
agreed.
it.
So I do have some follow-up questions regarding that. You mentioned a few
Yes.
things interesting, and that'll definitely help people regarding their journey and preparing. So you
Mhm.
mentioned having some money laying around. There's
Yeah.
definitely like, how do you just have money laying around? How did that happen? How did you get to that point? Did it take certain types of financial habits in order to get there? And then when you say you found it like happenstance,
Yeah.
2018 was a competitive time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's when everyone was watching like YouTube, dialing in on social media. Everyone wanted to, like, prior to the pandemic, I would say, and then after
Yeah.
the pandemic, crazy. But
Yeah.
how did you save the money, and how did you get lucky, quote unquote, and happen to find one?
So I'm going to expand on that. So lying around, I will say from young, my mom, so both my parents, my mom especially, I would like kind of label her the financial guru of our family, right? She's very into like saving, investing in the real estate. I would say very conservative. My mom follows Susie Orman. I don't know if you guys remember Susie Orman from back in the day. She was like
Oh
really
yeah.
big on MSNBC. I think she had a show on there, and my mom was really big into Susie Orman. So from when we were very young, my mom kind of followed some of those steps. And so she put us on her credit, one of her credit cards. So by like 18, 19, I had like an 800 credit card score. And then my mom was really big on saving. So when, we worked our summer jobs, I'll speak for myself. When I worked my summer jobs, I had to put it in the bank. She would buy all of our school supplies and things of that nature. But like that summer youth money went into the bank. When I started working, she, instilled in me saving, putting something, always pay yourself first. And then, you can splurge on whatever afterwards. But so I kind of grew up from very young with that instilled in me and those habits. And so I had a pretty substantial savings. Could have had more, but I had something substantial where I could definitely put down enough on FHA, right? Without having to like, deplete my entire savings. And so that's how I developed those habits. So really just having a parent that developed financial literacy very early on and, sticking to that and listening to her. Because, I'm sure there are a lot of parents that instill those qualities in their children, but you have to be responsible enough in yourself to kind of like follow it and be consistent with it. And so, yeah.
There's a difference between being a parent and parenting. So
Uh-huh.
shout out to Mom, the financial guru.
Yes.
How did you make the transition from growing up under her wing and then delving into your career and maintaining those habits?
Okay, so yeah.
You're paying yourself first still. So, but what was your strategy? Was it stocks? Was it you investing in a 401k? Was it a secret savings account?
A little bit of all of those things. So, my first career as a nurse, I'm a registered nurse. And so when I first began working, I was still living at home at the time with my parents. And so my mom had it in a way where, I would kind of pay her rent, and it's very below market rent, like $400 a month or something like that. So that was something in me to write. If I do move out on my own, I know that there's a certain amount you have to put aside, of course, for rent. And then I just started investing, like you said, in 401k. She also advised me to open up a Roth IRA as well. And then I had like my own savings. Stocks didn't come till maybe a couple of years into my career. I want to say like around 2017, I opened up an E-Trade account and started investing in stocks. And at that time, I had done really well. I think it was Netflix. I invested like I want to say like maybe $5,000 or something in Netflix. And at that time, Netflix was like at 90 something a share, which is like, for me, it was a big risk. I was scared, but it ended up paying off down the line. When it went up to like, at one point it was like 3 something a share, and so I made a really great investment with that at the time. But like I said, I started looking to buy a home in 2018. But I don't know if I want to expand on that, and you could probably take this out. Maybe this one thing. I was in a relationship at the time, and the person that I was in a relationship with, we were both looking to purchase a home, and that didn't pan out. The relationship didn't pan out, and so after that, I felt like I'm never going to let someone's apprehension prevent me from moving forward with something that I know I can do on my own. And so that's what kind of catapulted me into really being aggressive in 2021, where I got an opportunity to purchase a home that I thought, could definitely work out for me in the long run. And so, so just those habits, like I said, that were instilled in me, and just knowing that this is what I wanted eventually, to purchase a home, and that I had to put money aside, if I didn't want to be like house poor, right? I wanted to have a substantial amount where I could feel secure and still being able to travel and do things I like to do, but also being able to afford, where I'm going to be living and things of that nature. So I'll expand more on how I came up on the property in Jersey. So the first home that I purchased is in New Jersey, Irvington area of New Jersey. And my brother actually introduced me. So my brother, who is younger than me, ended up purchasing a home. He didn't tell anyone, right? And so I happened to ask him about something. I really honestly cannot recall what it was, but he ended up telling me. I was the only person who told in the family at the time that he had purchased a home in New Jersey. And so I know I had been previously looking for a home, and I knew that there were certain things that you have to do. Like, you probably should get a lawyer. You don't have to, but you probably should get a lawyer. Probably should get an inspection. And being that this is my younger brother, I'm asking him all of these questions, hey, did you follow these steps? And he didn't follow some of those steps. But he said that the person that told him about the home, he trusted this particular person. Even though he didn't maybe do it the right way, he trusted the person that brought him to this particular home that he purchased. So I was like, okay, I want to meet this person. I want to speak to this person. And so he introduced me to this particular person. And he happened to have someone that was looking for a home to be purchased. Someone who, like I mentioned before, recently flipped a home, a 2-family home, and was looking for a buyer. So he hadn't put the listing up yet. And so I kind of had like first dibs on it. So I went to see it. I liked it. And yeah, I kind of moved forward, very, very cautiously though. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to, put other people's business out there, but I'm glad I followed the right steps as far as like getting inspection, getting a lawyer, getting someone who I really trusted to advocate for me during the whole process. Because though I had prior knowledge, because when I was looking before, I was actually looking in New York. And I had found 1 or 2 properties that I liked. But one, I did an inspection before, prior to even moving forward with like signing any contract or anything like that, as you should. And one home ended up having like asbestos. They didn't want to remedy it before purchasing, and they didn't want to give any money, towards me remedying it, which is a very expensive process. And so little things like that I learned, even though I didn't purchase the house prior to, just in the process of even looking, I learned a couple of lessons. And so I was able to kind of go in there knowing, all right, this is what I'm willing to kind of accept or compromise on. And this is something that I'm like not willing to, just kind of let slide. And so, yeah, that's how it kind of went. If you want me to expand a little bit more, I will. It basically was kind of like a Ponzi scheme, essentially.
What? Ponzi scheme?
The whole, no, seriously, the whole broker issue, it was a whole Ponzi scheme. Because I was steadfast and smart about it, I did not get sucked into it, but it could have ended horribly. And I will always advise people, if you're working with someone, just make sure that they are legit, that they're a real broker, that they don't give them any money directly. Make sure that you give the money directly to your attorney to give to, to put it in escrow, things of that nature, because it could have ended badly.
I have so many questions.
You ask someone else to can answer, because I just don't want to expose the whole situation.
Okay. So first, I just want to give a shout out to your mom for even teaching you to get a Roth IRA, because we've interviewed a lot of people and that is not common. So shout out to your mom. That is something we need to make common in our communities. Like, people need to open IRAs, need to save money. A lot of other thing you said, that you live below your means, making sure you're not house poor so that you can still travel, you still own your house, so you're still enjoying life. Another key thing you said is that you invested in Netflix before it blew up. And that, investing in stocks at the right time is definitely life-changing, or at least, gives you a bump in your savings. So that was amazing. So going back to this house that you bought, it was a 2-family, correct?
Yes.
So I just need to ask, how was it a Ponzi scheme without mentioning names? Because I'm just what? How did it turn?
What this person was doing was, one, what I found out later on is they would have the person. So say for instance, I had someone that wanted to purchase the house, right?
Yeah.
I would refer them to him, and then he would advise them to give the down payment to him directly, and then he would work with the mortgage broker, right, as far as giving the down payment in, right? So everything, if you didn't know anybody, you would say, okay, that's normal, right? And then what he would say is, you bring the same amount. So say for instance, I'm using just $5,000 down, and then you bring $5,000 to closing, but you'll get it back. This is what you'll get that money back, that $5,000 back at closing. So you give it to him, you give it in at closing, and then afterwards he'll give you the money back, right? And most times he would give the money back. But then what he would do afterwards is ask you, say, hey, I have an investment that you may be interested in. It's only $5,000, because now he knows you have the $5,000, right? Kind of like, so
yeah.
It's only $5,000, and I'll give you $10,000 back. I'll double your investment. And then you'll wait. And then when he gets someone else to purchase, brokers another property with someone else, then he'll give you your money back. And then it's kind of like, that's just how it went back and forth, if that makes any sense.
That's different.
Different. Yeah.
That is interesting. That was interesting.
It's almost, it was very interesting too.
It's like he's trying to pay himself for referrals in a way. I don't know. I'm trying to make it a legal thing.
A kind of, but like, the thing is, someone like me, I'm sure someone didn't get paid because I didn't give him any money at closing, right? So now you have to find someone else in order to now give the person that you promised that money back their money, because someone
Yeah.
like I'm not giving you anything at closing because that's not. I'm dealing with a mortgage broker now. I have
Yeah.
nothing. You're not even a broker. Like you're just someone who introduced me to someone in reference to this deal, and that's it. I don't owe you anything legally as far as
So
like.
was he a wholesaler?
Maybe that's what that is. I'm not sure.
Well,
But
wholesaler is someone that has
yeah,
like the sale and then they find a buyer and then somehow they get paid. I don't know
no,
exactly. Maybe I'm
because
not.
I end up dealing with the seller directly, the person who's
Okay,
buying
okay.
the property. Yeah. So I don't think that really. I think he was more like the best thing I can think of was like a broker, someone who brings you to the property or finds buyers for the property. But I
A
think after
realtor?
it's just like, yeah, like a realtor, but he wasn't a licensed realtor. So
Okay.
I don't know what else, like I don't know what the title to put on it, but yeah, he was just the guy. Just the
Okay.
guy. Yeah.
So it's a good thing you lucked out. You came
Yeah,
out.
dodged the bullet big time.
So
Big
how did you become aware that that was shady? Like,
um so well, my lawyer, number one. I had a really aggressive lawyer. So he was just like, this doesn't seem right. Like, this doesn't, because I kind of was very transparent with him. Like, this is what they, this person told me. I don't think this is normal. He's like, yeah, it's not normal. This is not something that, like, and apparently this is something that goes on in Jersey. I mean, at the time, I don't know if it's something that's still going on, but it's very common, like in Jersey,
okay.
these type of transactions. He was a small fry. I'm pretty sure it was a small fry, but he had a little hustle he was running, and he wasn't able to kind of get over on me,
There's a
but
lot going
he
on
did
in
get over
Jersey.
someone. Huh?
We have to make sure people are watching out and being careful when they're investing in Jersey. There's a
Yes.
whole lot of shit going on out there.
Yeah.
Good thing you
Yeah.
were able to avoid the pitfalls.
Yes, for sure. And I'm thankful for that. But yeah, there's some people who didn't get their money back, who, so it's unfortunate.
That is
Just
unfortunate.
watch out. Just like always tell people, if you just get a lawyer, even if some people feel like they can broker things themselves, but it's always good to have someone who knows the legality, especially if you're buying out of state, a state that you're not familiar with. I would say Jersey is probably very similar to New York in certain ways, but it's always good to have someone who knows what's going on in that jurisdiction, just in case.
So speaking of knowing what's going on in the section, what made you go multi-fam instead of single fam? And then can you break down why you went duplex versus a triplex or quad?
Okay. So definitely multi-fam. So I didn't, I always think, and this may be something I got instilled, my mom instilled in me as well. Just thinking for the future, you just never know what could happen. I want to make sure that, yeah, I can pay for it on my own now, but God forbid something's happening, I have some sort of backup with a rental, right? Someone that's renting that could possibly help covering the mortgage. And I know people give landlords a lot of flack, like, oh, you're depending on your tenants to pay your mortgage. But I'm like, this is transactional. You need a place to stay, and I have a place, and you're going to pay me. What I do with that money has nothing to do with you, right? It's sort of transactional in that sense. But of course, you want to make sure that where you have people living is definitely in the best shape as possible. I always say I would want someone living someplace that I would feel comfortable living in, and that's how I kind of move with the property. But yeah, that's why I did the 2-family, because I want to have that buffer just in case, right? Even being in the healthcare field, they always say it's so easy to find a job, but you just never know. What if I fall ill? What if something happens? What if I have to move out of state, and the income is different, or whatever things I was thinking of at the time. I just felt like having a 2-family was just better, and to house hack it later. It wasn't my forever home. It wasn't some place I necessarily want to live long term. And so I knew that if I secure this, it'll be easier for me to then buy my next property versus buying a single family. And then now the second property that I buy is automatically going to be investment. You got to put 20% down and yada, yada, yada. So getting the bigger property first and then finding like my forever home later on. And then I just didn't look for anything above 2, I guess. I don't know why. I really can't think. In retrospect, I'm like, Dad, I should have bought like a 4-family, because at that time they were almost close to the same price, maybe just a little bit more. but just dealing with 2 tenants is enough for me, honestly, right now.
How did you learn about the difference in the approach to putting down on that property? Because you mentioned it being 20% down
If it was
the
an
next
investment.
time around, right? As an
Yeah.
investment property. So how did you learn about that? And also there was something else that you stated. Oh, house hacking. How did you learn about the house hacking term? And what can you tell people about your journey?
All right, so house hacking is something that, so I knew what it was prior to it being called house hacking, but that's the term that everyone uses now, where you basically you buy a multifamily first, you live in it for a year, you do FHA. Well, that's what I did. I did an FHA. I lived in it for a year, and after that year's term, I actually moved back home in a sense. I moved back to where I was living in my previous apartment and rented out both units. And so then I started just stacking again, knowing, okay, either I'm going to get another multi or I'm going to get my primary home. And like I saw my parents do it. My parents bought a 2-family first back in the 90s in Brooklyn, when it was like, a couple of hundred. It wasn't much, right? And then in around 2000, I want to say 13, they purchased like a 4-family home. And so at that time, my mom, she kind of schooled me like, hey, I had to put 20 down. Me and your dad had to, do this and that. So that's how I kind of learned, like, okay, investment property is always going to be 20%. They have their bread, but do I really want to do that if I can do it another way to avoid kind of putting that much down? And so, yeah, that's why I kind of did it that way. I knew that I could always get my forever home afterwards or buy another property. Now, eventually, when I do want to buy another property, I'm going to have to do that. It's kind of no way around it now because I recently purchased my primary home. So, yeah. But I have a little trick up my sleeve,
Congratulations. Are you willing to share the trick?
Congrats.
We want to know.
Well, I'm hoping my partner he'll buy the next multifamily.
No, speak on that. Answer that, because
Yeah.
instead of qualifying for only 10 together, you can multiply that by 2, right? And qualify
exactly.
for 20. So,
Exactly.
I mean, we'll probably, Holly and I will probably come up with another series called like Love and Real Estate.
Oh,
where
yeah,
we'll
okay.
dive into the journey of couples. Diving into it and the strategies that they incorporate as well. So
yeah.
that's something we'll build on.
Yes.
Holly, did you want to ask anything? Add anything?
So you mentioned you moved back home or you found your primary. So you're currently living in your primary, or?
Yeah, right now I'm living in my primary. But when I initially bought the 2-family, I did live there for a year and then moved back. Because the thing is, I was actually renting from my parents. As I mentioned, they bought a 4-family home. And so they had like a 1-bedroom apartment. I was living there actually before I purchased my 2-family. I moved in for the year because it's required by FHA.
Yeah.
And then I moved back home,
That's
after.
nice.
Yeah,
That's nice.
Okay.
So what's next? Like, what is your plan for your purchasing the additional properties? Like, you just say that you're gonna do it with your spouse.
Yeah. So we're gonna house hack. So then now he's, technically, the way we did it was he's able now to get an FHA and hopefully purchase a larger, maybe a 4-unit or even more. Yeah. I see the 4. Again, put up the 4. Yeah. So that's the plan. Once we get this house in order, because we're doing a lot of renovations right now. This is our primary home. We want it to be comfortable. So we're doing as much, not too much, but we're doing enough to make it comfortable. And then maybe in a year or 2, we'll think about purchasing something else. Yeah.
So just going back to like your childhood, because you mentioned how your mom pretty much has been like grooming you to know about financial literacy. So like, I guess like going back to like your 12-year-old self, was that when your mom started having the conversation, or is it always like she would just always talk about it since as far as you can remember?
I would say maybe like high school. I would say I can like really remember, and I'm sure she probably did it even younger. Because even like Christmas money or like holiday you would get from your family members and stuff, my mom's always like, you got to put it away. Because the first thing as a child, you want to go buy something. You want to go spend it. You want to do something with it. But it was always like, you should save it. And then if you want something later on down the line, you have this amount of money versus, spending it now and not having anything later. So it's like little things like that, I guess, as a lot younger, an adolescent, but I would say like as a teenager, I would say that's when because at that time I would sit down and I would like watch Susie Orman with her,
Okay.
I started like buying her books, and things of that nature. So she planted the seed and like watered it. And then eventually I started kind of like getting very interested in it on my own. But just start off as just like save your money, like put something aside. And then, I'm going to put you guys on my credit card. So you'll have my credit score. Make sure, she didn't want us taking out any loans for school. So like helping us pay, so really helping us financially as well as in the same breath, instilling those good habits in us too. So,
That's awesome.
My parents did a great job. They really wanted us to be financially stable and to the point where we don't have to depend on them for anything financially, essentially. So it's good.
Little stay out
well for themselves too. I was just talking to my mom today, and I'm just so proud of her and my dad. My dad is finally retiring. My mom retired quite a while ago. My dad is retired. My dad is a nurse, and so he's officially kind of like retired. And they're gonna live a really great life because they set themselves up really great financially. And so I'm just happy for them in that way. And that's what I aspire to be, in the future. Yeah.
So you're already following in their footsteps.
Yeah. Trying to be retired by like
you
50.
got your properties.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome. So what does generational wealth mean to you? What role has it played in your life, and what role will it play in your future?
Generational wealth is really just like passing the baton. I think I hear a lot of people say, wherever I have, I'm leaving with it, right? Like, I'm not leaving anything for anyone. Everyone has to kind of find their own way. And I get it to a certain extent, but if you really care about the people in your lives, especially your children, and they've been good to you, you've been good to them, I think there's nothing wrong with leaving a legacy for them, to give them a little heads up when they start their journey into the world, right? And so for me, that's what like generational wealth means, like leaving something behind to give that other generation a head start. And then hopefully they'll do the same and give the next generation a head start. And I think that's kind of what my parents did, for myself and my siblings, is just even just given us that financial literacy to be able to make our like really great decisions so that we can then now build our own wealth and then pass it on to our children. And so that's what I plan to do. I don't have any children yet, but eventually when that time comes, they'll have something to look forward to.
Okay.
To.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So in the future, do you think your family will look into like trust? I've been hearing that that's a good way to like pass property from like one generation to the other without having to pay like massive taxes and stuff like that.
So it's so funny because that's something that I've been trying to school my parents, right? They school me. Yeah. I'm trying to like, Mom and Dad, you guys need to really get serious about planning, estate planning, a trust, because they've expressed that they do want to leave something for my siblings and I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to leave us arguing amongst us, each other, which I don't foresee, but just never know, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't want us having to figure out what your wishes are. So like, get your fears in order. We foresee you living a very, very long time, but you just never know. And I would hate for us to, kind of be stuck trying to figure out what Mom and Dad would have wanted. And, you guys can make that decision right now. My dad is kind of like, he thinks it's kind of morbid, but I'm like, it's so important to do it now. And so they're like slowly getting there, but it's like a conversation to have with them, like at least like once or twice a month, just like to inch them. Cause I don't want to be too overbearing about it, but I'm like, this is something you should really, look into. So anybody out there, it's never too early to start estate planning, setting up a trust, so your family members don't have to, deal with the grief and then now have to deal with the legality and, the financial burden that sometimes comes with leaving property and estates around. So that's the key for them. And that's what I plan to do. Yeah, eventually. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been hearing that probate is crazy.
Yeah,
It takes
yeah,
so
it
long and
is.
it's just pricey. Like they
Yeah,
take
it
their
is.
cut.
Yep, yep, exactly,
And
exactly.
like we're gonna get paid off of this.
Yeah.
Um, so what advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
Mm, 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 mm. I wish I would have did it sooner. I wish I like, honestly, I wish I wasn't so scared earlier. I guess at 15, yeah, the last thing I was thinking about was purchasing a property or like, yeah, something like that seemed too massive at the time. But if I could speak to my 15-year-old self, I would definitely tell her, like, girl, just do it. You know, like as soon as you turn 18, or even now, figure out a way for my parents to co-sign and do, help me do it. Or some like take the risk. It's never like don't be scared to take the risk. I remember being in college. I went to LIU, Brooklyn, and I had a friend, and he was like telling me about like these houses in Jersey, and it's like a full circle moment. No, these houses in Jersey like $50,000 in Newark, $70,000. And at that time, I was like, I knew it was cheap, but I was still like, I don't have that money. Like at that time, I didn't feel like I had that money to like go purchase these homes. But I was of age. If I really wanted to do it, I really could have. And like in retrospect, I'm like, man, I could have owned a whole block if I really wanted to. Like if I wasn't so scared, I could have said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm just go out to Jersey. I wasn't driving at the time. I get on the path and just go out there and see what's going on, and then like take that leap. And it's so funny that I was scared at the time, but I ended up right back in Jersey. That was, first place I purchased my property, and now I'm living here full time. And yeah, hindsight is definitely 2020. I will always, it really, really is. But you don't know what you don't know. But I would just tell my 15-year-old self, when the opportunity presents itself, and you have the means, just do it. Just do it. You'll figure it out for sure. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, you're right, because we never know what's gonna happen. And it's like looking back, it's so easy to be like connect the dots and stuff, but
Yeah.
I feel like everything happens the way it's supposed to
Oh,
be. And
agreed. That's true. Yeah.
oh yeah. So Gavin, do you have any last words?
Yeah, I was wondering what type of advice she would give her 25-year-old self, and then we're gonna have a follow-up, a little exercise, so that if you decide you want to revisit this interview in a
Mhm.
decade, we're gonna help you establish some sort of goal. But what advice would you give that girl who's fresh out of college a couple of years later? Or
Probably the
even
same
just fresh
thing.
out of college?
Hmm? I'm sorry, you tripped out. Say that again.
25. Let's go with 25. I was gonna say, or even fresh out of college, but let's just go with 25.
Probably, honestly, probably the same advice. Like, take that risk, continue to save, be financially responsible. Because I splurged. I did some things. I bought my first Louis bag when I came out of college. I was a
Yeah,
nurse.
but try to be specific though, because
Specific.
the details, the intricacies of saving in your mid-20s are a
Yeah.
lot different, right? Because you're not just thinking about hanging out with your friends, going to the store or not, going to the mall or not. Now you're like, all right, am I going on vacation with my friends or
Mm,
not? Or if I do that, then I have to sacrifice in another area of life. Or you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna max out on my contributions and I'm gonna
mm.
call that my savings for the next 5 years. But I'm gonna make sure I'm living it up with my friends because I'm able to stay home. You could dive a bit more into the strategies you
So,
wish um you would have used or you would
mm.
have built upon.
You know what? I definitely, yeah, now that you mentioned, I probably would have maxed out my Roth IRA during those earlier years because I didn't really have too many bills, per se, but I did prioritize saving to have that liquid money versus IRA is a little bit more stringent. You can't really take it out. So I didn't max it out maybe the way that I should have at that time. So that's probably something I would have done in my early 20s. And then, I don't know. I mean, I was pretty responsible. So I don't know if there was anything particularly different. Like I like definitely paid myself first. Always put probably about half of my income. And I always had like 2 jobs too, even in my early 20s, I had a little side gig. So that would kind of be like my fun money that I would do things with. And then I would save like my main income, my Monday through Friday job, because I work outpatient. So it was like Monday through Friday. And yeah, and then I was still able to travel because on my side job, I was making a substantial amount of money as well, where I could like travel with my friends. I wasn't traveling as much, but I really prioritized traveling and just like experiences at that time, I think in my early 20s. And maybe I would have pulled back just a little bit more, but I don't really have any regrets to say like I would do anything too much differently. You know what? I probably would have invested in stocks more because I didn't start investing, to me, kind of late. I was almost 30 when I really started investing in stocks. And so I probably would have done that a lot earlier in my 20s because I think that's the best time to take those risks because you can always, you have those years to make that back. If you do lose, if it does dip, you have more time to regain momentum versus like when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're really focusing on retirement and you don't want to take as many risks. So yeah, I would say the 20s, early 20s is probably the best time to take those type of risks, especially if you're living at home, that's probably the best time to do that. I hope that was a little bit more specific. No? Yeah, but it's like, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're okay.
Yeah, I have like poor service. I try to come to where we have lighting in the house and the service is just horrible down here. I usually do it in another place and the lighting is horrible. So I'm just trying to figure it out. Yeah, just please bear with me. So whether 40 or 50, come up with a goal where you're going to be able to watch this video and say, you know what? I'm proud of that younger version of myself because I came up with this goal. I probably didn't think I could accomplish it, but because I spoke it out into existence, I knew I wanted to focus on it. So come up with a goal for either 40 or 50.
Yeah, I have that goal.
Miss Trisha Samuel, if you want to hyphenate it because that's the direction you're going with him.
Hey now, claim it.
Whatever. I said, speaking into existence, Miss Trisha Samuel. We can edit in the future if you ever want us to come back as well.
That's funny, That's fun.
All right, so future Trisha will accomplish such and such by 40 or 50, and these will be the steps in order to get there. Take your time. You can think it through. It doesn't.
I already have my goal. My goal for 50 is to retire at 50. So Trisha Samuel, as of right now.
What does it look like? What does it retire? How many houses?
I'm gonna get into it. So I want to retire by 50.
Okay.
And be able to live off, just passive income from renting my real estate properties. So accumulate enough real estate by that time where I can cover my, my expenses and also live off that amount comfortably by 50. And that looks like really tightening up my finances now because, renovations are expensive, so just clearing up any outstanding, debt that I have and making sure that in the next, I'm going to be 4 years. So in the next like 15 years, I'm being really aggressive with attaining real estate and making just smart choices, right? It has to make sense because, you can buy a 3-family, but if you're just, if the rents that you're collecting are just paying the mortgage, you're not really making any profit over it. It's great because it'll grow, you'll gain equity, but at that time, you're not making any real profit. And I'm not at the stage yet where I'm really ready to like pull out money. Like it's, and maybe you can shed some light on that too, just like pulling out what they call it, like not even like a HELOC, but like refinancing, cash out refinancing, and like using that to buy another property. Like I'm not at that stage yet, but I hope to be, where I feel comfortable doing that and building my portfolio. So by the time that I'm 50, myself and my partner, we can retire and, just focus on, children, traveling, just living a life of leisure, hopefully by 50. So, yeah. That's the
I
goal.
love it. I love it. I think that's a great goal. I think you could definitely accomplish it, especially if you already know the steps. It sounds like before Gavin even finished his question, you knew what your goal was that you were
Yeah.
going to say. So I feel like you're already on track to accomplish it. So kudos to you. As far as the financing, like cash out refinancing, I've had a friend that's done it. I haven't done it personally, but they were able to take out a significant amount of money, like maybe I want to say like 40,000 or something, and they just used it to like renovate their property. But of course you could use it to just get another property, but it seemed like the process was fairly simple and like straightforward. I'm sorry, I don't have more information, but
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, the way these interest rates are right now, too, probably for me, because 2021 was a great year. It was a great year for locking in really great interest rates, and so it would really have to make sense.
Let the next cycle come and go so that you
Yes.
can learn from watching, even though you already have the experience.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are going to get caught dead in the water thinking that because we started investing in 2015 up until now,
Yeah.
we're going to know how to survive whatever calamities or whatever changes in the market. And the truth is, unless you had the experience for the last 15 years since 2007-8, we're not really going to be well equipped. So I wouldn't suggest taking any major risks unless, however, your different scenario. It's different with your case because you've already invested in a place outside of your home state, right?
Yeah.
Not only Jersey. I know we didn't get into it, but
Yeah.
some more context to what I'm saying is you've already managed properties in Georgia, right?
Yes.
So you'll be able to refinance, pull money out, find a market, and buy cash. But I would definitely
Hold off.
do a lot more research in terms of
Okay.
what you plan on doing with.
Okay.
Whoever want advice, you could always reach out to Holly or
Yes.
myself, and
Thank you,
we'll
guys.
make sure you're pointing in the right direction.
Perfect. I'm like so proud of you guys. I mean, you don't need accolades from me, but it's great that what you're doing. Because I feel like sometimes we are stronger as a team, right? When you work together and you build that wealth, is just like makes things so much easier. Yeah, and so teamwork is makes the dream work, as they say. Not to be cliche and corny, but it's true. So
it is true.
I aspire to be like you guys.
Oh, we just starting out. Thank you. We appreciate it. We hope with these talks that people are able to like get information, and it started conversations where they could go and be like, oh, they were talking about such and such. Let me do more research and dive deeper on that. Because at the end of the day, we're not giving financial advice. I gotta give that disclaimer. We're just sharing what we've been through, our experiences, and hoping that people get gems out of it. And we'll see how this grows.
It's a great thing that you're doing. Sure.
Thank you. So thank you so much for joining us today. For everyone watching, please subscribe to our channel. And remember, don't be afraid to take risks because you never know what could happen. It could literally change your life.
Yep, for
Bye.
sure.
See you
Bye.
next
It's a
time.
pleasure.
Thank you.